What's going on, everyone? Nick Filato, a Big Blue View, here to break down the Giants' second, fourth round selection, Dane Belton, a safety, slot, defensive back out of Iowa. Belton is a versatile hybrid safety linebacker that played most of his snaps over the slot as an apex defender. He was also used 290 times in the box during the 2021 season and was an effective blitzing back from all over the defensive formation. Iowa runs a pesky zone defense that uses a lot of match principles. Iowa defensive coordinator Phil Parker relies on spatially aware players with high processing and instincts who understand offensive route concepts and know how to use timing to bait quarterbacks into poor decisions. Iowa led the FBS in interceptions last season with 25, and let's be honest, it's not like Hawkeyes are recruiting five-star players at the Rapid. Belton was particularly good at detaching off-route assignments for interceptions, as we'll see throughout this video. Belton had 8 PBUs and 5 interceptions in 2021 from the star position that Iowa calls the cash spot. He's a shade under 6'1", 205 pounds, and he ran a 4.43 at the combine with a 1.5, 110-yard split. That's 88th and 83rd percentile, respectively. Belton has good ball skills and tracking, but found himself susceptible to double moves because of the aggressive nature of Iowa's defense in their zone scheme. He showed man coverage ability, albeit he could be a little bit more sudden, handling wide receiver breaks in the short and intermediate parts of the field, and he's not the smoothest at the line of scrimmage with his jam when he's aligned and pressed, and he can also get too high when he's throwing that press. He brings physicality, but had some frustrating missed tackles in college, had a double-digit missed tackle rate each year at Iowa. He has upside to develop in that area and become a player who can man up on some of these athletic tight ends down the field. Wink Martindale preaches versatility, and Belton will provide that. Let's get into his tape. On this first play, there's no play on the football here or anything for Belton. I'm just going to go back and forth, but I wanted to break this play down real quick. We have discussed two safety read coverages in the past on Big Blue View and how defenses use pattern match principles that dictate coverage after the wide receiver declares his route. This is something that was heavily incorporated in James Betcher's scheme, and it was also a part of Patrick Graham's system. Pattern match, it's not novel to Iowa, and it was developed by Nick Saban when he was the defensive coordinator for Bill Belichick in Cleveland back in the 90s. Now, for this specific coverage, I believe this is stubby. It's a stubby adjustment, which is an adjustment made to the cover 4 side of cover 6 against a 3x1 set. So stubby is similar to stump, which is another adjustment, but that one is specifically geared towards handling the number 3 wide receiver's corner route. So you're talking about smash type of concepts, you're talking about sail concepts, things like that. But in stubby, the outside cornerback right here is Meg. Meg means man everywhere he goes. So this guy's his assignment, and that's who he is focused on. Both the nickel, Dane Belton, who is right here, and then the strong safety right here, they're reading 3 to 2. Now this is the number 3 receiver, this is the number 2 receiver, this is the number 1 receiver. To the play side or the strength of the offensive formation. That's what I mean. And if you look at both of their eyes before the snap, they're both focused on the number 3 receiver because they're waiting to see what the number 3 receiver does. So if the number 3 receiver runs some sort of flat or quick out route, then it's the responsibility of the nickel defender to take that player, and then the strong safety will handle the number 2 receiver. If the number 2 goes vertical and this number 3 doesn't go to the flat and doesn't go under, then the nickel defender carries the number 2 and handles that just like we saw before. And if this number 3 goes inside, then it's the responsibility of the linebacker to read, run pass, and once he realizes it's pass, try to wall this player off and force him over the top to where the strong safety is. Now let's watch this play. And you'll see, watch Dane Belton. Right at the snap, what does he do? Looks at the number 3. Is he going under? Is he going this way? Realizes that he's not, so he just squares up and just carries the number 2. You can also see this player, the cornerback outside, man coverage the entire time. Meg everywhere he goes. It's just a vertical route, so he's just playing inside out there. He's outside any sort of divider, even though he doesn't necessarily have a safety over the top. He has this safety who could be handling another responsibility. And you can also watch how that linebacker does not want this player to get inside. Just goes to wall him off, sets inside. It's a pivot route. And that, I believe, is stubby. I just wanted to point that out because this is within Iowa system. It's within a lot of systems, and you can see how both of them are reading 3-2. Both these players reading 3-2. That's what I mean by that. They're waiting to see what these routes are going to be from these two players, and then they're reacting and changing their assignments based on the routes ran by those two players. But you can see how Dane Belton just carries that up the field. Now, this isn't a stubby call right here, but I also want to show what I mean by when the 3 goes this way, he reacts underneath to the flat. As you can see, he's eyes on the 3. He transitions to the 2, and then he sees out of his peripheral vision that the number 3 is going this way. Looks like Iowa brought a blitz, so he reacts down on the 3. And then it's going to be on this cornerback who, if we saw right before the snap, he's aligned in press, and then he bails right at the snap. Because if both of these players are running verts, it's going to be contingent on number 8 here to midpoint these two. And it's very, very difficult. And as you'll see, he's totally screwed here. There's not a lot he can do. He's midpointing both of these players, and it's his responsibility to cover them both. Now, there's a safety shading from the other hash, as you could see. He doesn't drop all the way to probably where he should be to undercut this 6 because he's distracted by this player right here because the cornerback on this side of the field has outside leverage. So Iowa got lucky here that Penn State couldn't really make him pay. But I just kind of wanted to show how the number 3 goes down. Again, this isn't stubby because this safety isn't handling the number 2's vertical. He looks like he's playing a robber type of role. I'm not 100% certain what he's doing here, trying to bait a pass probably because Iowa brought that blitz. I think he's probably just executing some sort of trap coverage. I just wanted to show this play as well. But we'll get into a more evaluation on Dane Belton right now. The offense is in a condensed 2x2 set here against Iowa. We see Dane Belton, and watch just how active his eyes are and how he's watching the quarterback basically the whole time as he works to the number 1 there, works underneath it, and then finds the crosser to get a PBU essentially. But watch, expands to the number 1, gets his eyes back on the quarterback right now. That's exactly what he's doing. And then he flows back underneath the number 1 just in case his quarterback is looking to throw in that direction. And then he stops, pivots, gets his eyes back on the quarterback, sees the crosser coming from the backside, plants and drives downhill, plays physical through the catch point. Love to see plays like that. Let's watch here against Penn State again. And I wanted to put this play in here because this is basically like zone concepts right here. He's going to work underneath to whoever is in the flat. Now he's on this hash. You have the cornerback who is in off coverage. He's playing zone, and he gets the undercall here to the number 1. And you can see how he passes that number 2 off, and then he flows over to the number 1 receiver, taking his eyes off the quarterback. Now, if this number 2 receiver ran vertical, it would have been the responsibility of these two. He would have closed with. We see this all the time, the 2-on-1 downfield type of thing. But Penn State comes out, and they run a really, really good route concept right here to defeat this type of coverage right in this soft area right here before the safety, right as Dane Belton expands to the number 1 before this cornerback can drive underneath it. And Belton didn't do anything wrong here, but you can see how he's tasked to just cover all the way underneath the number 1. It was just a good offensive play I wanted to kind of throw into this. Now we see against Nebraska, expand into the flat, realize the crosser's coming from the backside, and this is something that I felt like Dane Belton did a really good job at. He did a really good job processing backside routes into his zone. You can see how active he is again. Active feet. And watch, he has this threat right here. The running back is going into the flat. This is a 3rd and short, by the way, about a 3rd and 3. 3rd and 5, here we are. Haha, I can see. But he's watching that quarterback in this zone concept. This is why Iowa comes away with so many different types of interceptions, because they bait these routes really well. And here, he's just being patient. He's expanding with the running back, and he waits for the quarterback to rear back. The quarterback does, comes off that route, and then just absolutely nails the Nebraska receiver. Here against Maryland, 1st and 10. Now, you're not going to be able to see what exactly happens here, but he gets an interception. You see the acrobatic interception. But let's watch real closely here. Don't have the all 22 of this play, which sucks. We have Dane Belton. He drops down right here over the top of this player, and watch him. He's going to carry this number 2 wide receiver. He flips his hips, and he carries. And what this is kind of like a Yankee concept, only it's not really necessarily a 2-man route concept because you have a double clear route that's happening here. But what I mean by the Yankee concept is it's not necessarily that, but you're going to have the deep crosser to basically go into the area where the 2 vertical wide receivers cleared out. But Dane Belton doesn't get fooled here. Now he flips his hips and he starts to carry this number 2, but then he stops. We don't see it right here, which is unfortunate. And he comes off to locate that horizontal cross, and he undercuts that. This is a very, very high processing type of play. And I wish there was an angle where I could really show you. But you can see, carries the number 2, comes off of it, gets underneath, the horizontal cross, intercepts the pass. That's a very good play by Dane Belton. High processing. We're going to see something similar here against Illinois. Now, he's over the bunch, works back underneath that spot route from the number 1. Again, look, it's right here, the bunch release. He's going to cover the flat route. He kind of looks to see what the number 1 is doing. Now he flashes his eyes back to the quarterback. A lot of these quick concepts, the quarterback hits his back foot and he releases. And I feel like these Iowa defensive backs really timed up the release point of the quarterback to come away with a lot of these interceptions. You could see he's hit the back foot. He's hitching up to go throw the football. Dane Belton gets his eyes right back on him like this, right? And it's an excellently smart play by Belton because watch how he flashes his eyes to see what this number 1 receiver is doing. He's getting a feel for this route concept and seeing, hey, are they going to try to clear me out of here and throw in my vacated area? Then he just pivots his hips, does a good job changing direction right there, working underneath the number 1 spot route, coming away with an interception. That's a very good play. Here against Indiana, gets an interception on this play, but watch just how disciplined he is, waiting and baiting to come away with that interception. Now, it really helps the fact that number 13 right here is able to spin off this block, get into the flat to help chase this quarterback down. But watch, Dane Belton's just staying square, staying patient, while also keeping his eyes and moving laterally, keeping his eyes on this quarterback. Makes contact, quarterback makes a poor decision, Dane Belton comes away with the interception. Here we're going to see a deep pass. We don't get to see the entirety of the route, but I just wanted to show you how Dane Belton has the ability to carry these number 2 receivers, these slot receivers down the field. Shows good ball skills here, good tracking. Throw is a little bit underthrown, as we'll see. It's a little bit underthrown here. It's a bad camera angle, but he's able to still recover and work underneath it. It's not like he was necessarily beat to begin with. He's right on the hip right here. It's right on that outside hip. Then he gets better body position, makes the pick. Here against Illinois, you're going to see a PBU. Again, sucks, don't have the All-22. He's able to disrupt there. You can see how he picks this route up. The tight end, play action like they're going to block. Dane Belton doesn't bite on that. Expands laterally and then flips his hips, does a speed turn, which we unfortunately can't see. Gets underneath it. And it looks a little awkward because he's playing in this direction, but he's able to work underneath that, and then he gets that inside arm up while having that outside arm to maintain some sort of contact, nothing that's going to get flagged, on the Illinois tight end to get the PBU. Here we have Belton over the number 2 in the red zone. They try to do a man rub pick route, man coverage, and Belton's beat right here, but see how he gets that PBU right at that last second. It doesn't look like number 5 does a good job corralling this ball in the first place, but he shoves his hand right into the catch point right as the receiver is attempting to drag his feet and forces an incomplete pass and a 3rd and goal. This is just a nice little pick rub route, something you see a lot whenever the defense is in man coverage down here in the red zone. The number 2 wide receiver was supposed to rub this cornerback. It didn't necessarily work that well, but when the wide receiver turns up in this direction, Dane Belton gets out leveraged, but still, what a finish there with that outside arm to force the incomplete pass. Now this play is interesting because he starts as the outside cornerback right here over this player, but then that all gets jumbled and mixed up when this player gets motioned to be the number 3 in the reduced bunch, as we'll see right here. So in doing this, Belton's assignment changes. And you could see, if you look at the defense pre to post snap, it doesn't change. You have 2 high. So what's going to happen? You're going to have deep half. This is all open. The middle of the field is open. So now it's going to be on Dane Belton to not allow this receiving threat to go up through the middle of the field where there is no safety help. You want to influence this player where you have safety coverage. And that's exactly what he does. Now, you can see how he sets to the inside and then he jams to attempt to reroute outside where he has somebody over the top. Play cloud, right? But he kind of misses and then he gets all awkward here. Now he's in trail. He has somebody over the top, but I wanted to point this out. That's not the best technique when you're attempting to make some contact in his route. He sets, he puts himself in very, very good position, but then he leans, doesn't bring his feet with him. Not great. And this is something that I criticized him for earlier in the video, and I feel like I saw it throughout his film. Whenever he was in jam or press, he forgets to bring his feet. Gets you off balance. It gets you into a really, really poor position, and then you end up like this. Now he's playing the hip, but still, even if you are in trail position, you should not have that much separation on this 7 route. He didn't get burnt by it because the quarterback threw in another direction. Not great technique there. You'll see something a little bit similar on another. This is an in-breaking route. We have Dane Belton right here. Now, he doesn't really expand. This is an outside release. It's not terrible here, but he doesn't necessarily bring his feet with that release. And he has help over the top with the safety, but you can see how much separation this receiver, and of course, we don't have the all-22, this receiver makes on that little seam bender type of route. So it's something that I feel like Dane Belton could do a better job with. Just bring his feet with him. This one isn't as bad as the last one, and it just sucks that we don't have the all-22 to see that part of it. Now against Iowa State, it's going to be a catch by Charlie Kolar, but Dane Belton's all over it. He's right in the hip pocket. That's just a very good throw by Brock Purdy and a very nice catch by Charlie Kolar. But he's reading the release, kind of expands outside, and it's going to be an inside breaking route, but then he closes with right onto the hip, and it's kind of crappy video. And he tries to get that outside arm into the catch point, but he just can't. It's still solid coverage. Here we're going to see Dane Belton, his aggressiveness. He is this player right here. You have a quads alignment. You're going to have the number 3 wide receiver run a screen. And there's 2 blockers right here going in on Dane Belton. And he splits it really well. Excellent timing. Good first step. Lowers his shoulder, physical, eliminates 2 blockers from this play, and then the outside receiver does a poor job blocking him, but then you have all these rallying defenders. That was a really good play by Belton. Now we see Belton more in the box here. I feel like he does a pretty good job in these situations. Just shoots the B gap. You want a safety who can fill the B gap. That is very important in college football. It's very important in the NFL. You need to have that level of physicality. Dane Belton has that hybrid type of ability where he's good at coming downhill. When, say, Jabril Peppers at it, and there are times where he frustratingly misses tackles, but he does have the necessary, sufficient level of physicality to execute that role as a safety coming from depth. Here we're going to have Dane Belton do the same thing, fill the B gap. Make the tackle. Eyes on the backfield the entire time. Doesn't necessarily pop him, but he executes his assignment. Here, love this play. That is a physical play that you see linebackers and edge rushers make. And we talk about this on Big Blue View, right? He's going to utilize a wrong arm technique here. So you're going to have the tackle, take number 97 and block him down. So Dane Belton is going to replace this to keep the defense tight here and to not allow a large rushing path. He wants to keep the rushing path, which is going to be right off the ass of 97, very, very narrow. And he has his H-back coming from the backside. So he could squeeze technique him with that inside shoulder, but he wrong arm techniques him. What I mean by the wrong arm technique is you go in with your outside shoulder, and all you're doing is you're just creating havoc here, and you're just creating trash. So now, instead of having your outside arm free, you just basically clog up the desired rushing path of the offense, and you're going to either force this running back to cut inside to defenders or bounce outside to the defenders that you're about to see. So you're going to have these secondary force defenders come up, as you see. 33, 26. This play gets completely blown up, and that's just excellent technique, a physical, heady play by Dane Belton here to use the wrong arm technique to force the running back to cut back inside, and then he just absolutely gets mauled by the Iowa defense. Here we have Dane Belton. He's aligned over the bubble here. What I mean by over the bubble is he has a guard who is uncovered, essentially. You have a 1 technique here, but there's nobody from the 1 technique all the way to the 5 technique. So what does that mean for the offensive lineman? It means the offensive lineman has this nice, easy path to climb up to Dane Belton and locate him. And Dane Belton, look, he works to the outside because you have this contained defender kind of working to the outside as well, flashes his eyes to see what exactly is going on, and he gets pushed back a little bit, but then he ends up shedding. He evades, and that's fine. I mean, you're a defensive back. You're not going to be able to lower yourself and stack and shed offensive linemen consistently. He sheds, he evades, he gets displaced a little bit, but he works and shows competitive toughness and physical toughness to work off that block and then locate 24 for the tackle. Here we have Dane Belton. He's going to cover the flat on this play. I like this types of plays where you're in split back, you go into the mesh point, keep the defense guessing, and then you leak the running back out here into the flat. But Dane Belton doesn't bite on any of this. He stays square to the target the entire time, then comes downhill, makes a tackle. Now, he's hardly made this tackle. You'd like him maybe to take a better pursuit path, but he still gets his legs, and it's fine, and the running back loses his balance there. But I just like how square he is and how calm he is. Stays calm, makes a tackle. Here, it's hard to see. It kind of gets cut off, but this was a quick blitz by Dane Belton from this position, and he just has a really, really quick trigger coming downhill. He comes downhill, and he just gets a tackle for loss. The video kind of stunk, I know. Here we're going to see something similar. Doesn't get the tackle for the loss here, but this is just something that I see translating so well to Wink Martindale's scheme because he has that quick first step. Ran a 1-5-1 10-yard split. That's really, really good for a defensive back. And you can see how just quick he explodes. He beats the blocker right to his set point. 53, he's tasked to block down. He can't get there. Dane Belton's in the backfield. And number 5 is able to make the tackle because of this penetration by Dane Belton. Dane Belton has this, and you better believe that Belton's going to be used pretty often in Wink Martindale's scheme as a pressuring asset from the second level. You can do it from the box. You can do it from the apex, the overhang. You can do it from any of those positions. Dane Belton is a pretty solid blitzer. And we're going to see him at safety. Come up, make the open field tackle. So he aligned at safety, not as much as he aligned at the apex, the overhang, whatever you want to call it. Comes into this tackle point, stays square the entire time, breaks down. See? Head up, chest up, wide arms, breaks down, goes low, makes a tackle. Now, he misses some of these tackles sometimes, and it can be frustrating. But overall, he's I would say, an adequate to solid tackler. He has a lot of frustrating missed tackles on his tape. Here we see him penetrating again. Comes in, makes a nice stick. We're going to see him come into the screen here. Now, he doesn't get this tackle, that's fine, but he pressures the quarterback, forces the overthrow. See that again. Does a solid job timing these blitzes up. You can see him kind of coming a little bit early here to get that momentum. And you want to see him ideally get this tackle, but still, he blows up the entire play. Patrick Graham loved running those blitzes. Wink Martindale loves running those blitzes. We're going to see it quite often. Here we see it again. He does a good job kind of turning a tight angle there to keep pursuing him into the pocket. Just flushes the quarterback out of the play. Now here, we're going to see Dane Belton miss this tackle. Now I will say this was towards the end of the half, right? So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt here. It's towards the end of the half, and what does he do? He forces this running back inside. Now, he misses the tackle, yes, but he boxes him back inside to these pursuing defenders. So there's something to be said for that, and I wouldn't be as concerned about a missed tackle like this if I didn't see it other times on his film. But still, he wants to keep this guy in bounds. He doesn't want him to get out of bounds. So there's a reason why he set outside like that. Here against Northwestern, we're just going to see him when he's coming downhill sometimes, and he misjudges if this tight end is going to go inside or outside. He gets all tangled up with his feet, loses his balance, and he doesn't necessarily recollect as well. So I had that clip there. Here's one against Michigan. This isn't a tackle attempt. He's actually in solid coverage here. This is just a really good throw by the Michigan quarterback and then an insane catch by the tight end. I'm not putting this in here to knock him because I feel like he is in good position. He's right in the hip. He's got his eyes on the quarterback. He's engaged with both hands there. This has to be a perfect throw, and I don't even know if it was meant to be this good, but it was right where it needed to be for Dane Belton to not be able to make a play on it. And you couldn't really have a better throw and catch there to prevent Dane Belton from making a play on that football. Here is a blown coverage where I don't know the coverage. I don't know the rules. I'm not going to act like I do. But Dane Belton seems to be the one that is over the top of the number 3. And nobody addresses him. And it's just a quick little spot route for a touchdown. I think I saw another miscommunication on film that might have been a result of Dane Belton. So I wanted to put this in here just to be like, hey, it's something that I did see. Don't think it's necessarily a problem because we've seen him throughout this video execute more complex types of coverages. But against Illinois, that happened. Here against Iowa State. Love the Iowa State battles, gives up this touchdown. Now, he gave up, I want to say it was like 5 touchdowns. He had 5 interceptions, but he gave up 5 touchdowns too. Here's one of them. We don't get to see exactly what happens, but this player worked inside and then came back outside, and Dane Belton failed to account for the out route. And this will be the last clip that we go over. This is against Wan'Dale Robinson, who is right here. I put this clip up on Twitter. We have Dane Belton in the slot, and it's a middle-of-the-field open defense where I feel like Wan'Dale Robinson does an excellent job tempoing his route and angling his stem inward to get Dane Belton into a position that he wants while also allowing these safeties to expand more laterally to open up the middle of the field. You can see how he angles that stem inward. Dane Belton matches, and then Wan'Dale Robinson just puts his inside foot into the ground and just explodes while these safeties, see the safety's hips are angled towards the number 1 receiver outside. The safety's hips are angled this direction. Middle of the field is wide open. This is a beautiful play by Wan'Dale Robinson, but this is Dane Belton breakdown. Go check out the Wan'Dale Robinson breakdown that we have on the Big Blue View YouTube page. I feel like there are times when Dane Belton gets his feet stuck in the sand a little bit here. He sets to the outside, and that's all well and good, and that's fine, but it takes him a little bit to transition. Instead of, a little back pedal, keeping active on his feet, he allows his feet to get stuck in the mud, and that's exactly what happened here. Wan'Dale Robinson explodes outside, and then it takes a while for Dane Belton, who's a good athlete, to transition and flip his hips, and that's something that's a little bit of a problem. I don't think it's overly a huge issue, because I have seen Dane Belton flip his hip, but on this play, look, his feet get stuck in the mud, and that's just a bad transition right there. Gets caught lunging a little bit, just off balance. Don't love to see that. And that was a quick breakdown of Iowa safety Dane Belton, who is now a member of Don Wink Martindale's system. I expect him to be used creatively in the box, in coverage, in pressure, while blitzing, and I think he will be an asset year 1 for Martindale's system. The Giants secondary right now is a little bit thin. Maybe they'll add some people before the start of the season. I guess that remains to be seen. But as for now, I think Belton will have a small role year 1 while also contributing on special teams. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Nick Filato of Big Blue View. Please head on over to Big Blue View and check out the Giants and draft content we have over there. Go on the channel and check out breakdowns of Wan'Dale Robinson and North Carolina guard Joshua Azudu. Thank you so much. Take care of each other.